Scott and Annie Howard drive to Napa Valley to survey a property they're interested in. While exploring, they spot a deer frolicking in the nearby woods. Suddenly, a man with a rifle shoots and kills the deer. Terrified, the couple tries to leave, but the man stops them. He explains that there's a bounty on deer because they're damaging the gardens. He then introduces himself as Charlie Peck, and the couple introduces themselves in return. It turns out that Charlie Peck is the owner of the property called Foxglove that they intend to purchase. Charlie gives them a tour of the property. While doing so, Charlie tells them that his wife, Ellen, died of cancer 2 years ago and that he is relocating to Florida to live with his daughter, Cassidy. After touring the property, Scott feels uncomfortable with the house, particularly due to Charlie's suspicious behavior. However, Annie falls in love with the house and expresses her desire to purchase it. As a result, Scott decides to buy it, and they move in. Charlie takes a few belongings he left in the house, hands the keys over to Annie, and drives off. That evening, Scott's friend Mike and his girlfriend visit them for dinner. After a while, Mike goes outside to smoke and urinate. He senses that someone is watching him and, unable to spot the person, he throws his cigarette on the ground and walks back into the house. In the morning, as Mike and his girlfriend are leaving, Mike opens his car door and finds cigarette burns on his car seat that weren't there before. Later, while Scott is at work, Annie calls him to say that Charlie is outside cutting the grass. Scott is surprised to hear this. Annie goes outside to speak with Charlie, asking him why he is doing that. Charlie explains that he noticed the grass was getting out of hand and decided to step in. When Annie asks why he hasn't gone to Florida yet, he says he will be moving soon but is currently staying at the Royal Hotel. After their conversation, Annie invites Charlie to Thanksgiving. On Thanksgiving Day, Charlie is the first to arrive. Scott gives him a tour of the house, showing him the changes they've made. When Charlie sees that the couple has changed the tapestry that came with the house, he becomes furious but tries to hide his anger. Later, Mike and his girlfriend join them. During their conversation, Mike suggests making some adjustments to the house to improve its appearance. However, this does not sit well with Charlie. His expression reveals that he wants everything in the house to remain as it was before he sold it. Mike goes outside for a smoke, and Charlie joins him after a while. From their conversation, Mike suspects that Charlie hasn't fully let go of the house. Later, after Charlie leaves the house, Mike tells Scott and the others about his suspicion that Charlie still considers the house his own and might be watching them from the woods. Seeing that none of them believes him, Mike persuades Scott to follow him into the woods. When they arrive, an unknown vehicle starts and drives away. This prompts Scott to hire security personnel to install cameras around the property. While they are doing this, Charlie shows up and tries to stop them. However, as soon as Scott reminds him that he is now the owner of the house, Charlie backs down. One day, Annie and Scott return home to find Charlie in the yard. Charlie offers to help them set up the Christmas tree and decorations they bought, but Scott declines, as he is unhappy with Charlie showing up uninvited. However, Annie is displeased with Scott's treatment of Charlie, and this begins to cause tension between the couple. Charlie, having developed an obsession with Annie, starts visiting her at home when Scott is not around. Realizing this, Scott confronts Charlie at a bar one night and warns him to stay away from his wife. In the morning, while Scott is out jogging, a car knocks him down from behind, and he is taken to the hospital. While recuperating, Scott experiences flashbacks of the accident and sees faint images of Charlie's face. He calls Mike, shares his suspicion that Charlie is responsible for the accident, and asks him to find out any information about Charlie and his family. Mike discovers that Charlie is in significant debt and had to sell the house, even though he didn't want to. Concerned that Annie might be in danger, Scott asks Mike to check on her. Mike immediately drives to their house. Upon arrival, Mike looks into the house and sees Charlie and Annie chatting while having dinner. Charlie notices him and goes after him. Grabbing an axe from outside, Charlie chases Mike. When Charlie catches up to him, he tells Mike that he has a chance to recover all he lost but must eliminate Scott to do so. Charlie then stabs Mike to death. When Scott returns home from the hospital, he tells Annie about his suspicions regarding Charlie and why he sent Mike to check on her. Scott is surprised to learn from Annie that Mike never visited the house. He warns Annie that Charlie is dangerous and instructs her to call the police if Charlie shows up. Upon further investigation, Mike discovers that Charlie never stayed at the Royal Hotel as claimed. Additionally, Charlie's daughter changed her name after her mother's death. Scott contacts Charlie's daughter, and as soon as he mentions Charlie Peck, she hangs up the phone. In another scene, Annie returns home and doesn't notice that Charlie is standing at the corner of the house. After a moment, he touches her, startling her. Charlie declares his feelings for Annie, but she responds by saying she feels ill and calmly asks him to leave. After he leaves, Annie quickly locks all the doors. Later, she hears a door creaking upstairs and goes to check it out. She notices that what was meant to be a wardrobe is actually a door. As she steps in further, she falls into Charlie's underground cellar, where he has been living since selling the house. While exploring the underground space, she finds a ladder. Climbing it, she discovers a door that leads outside. When she opens it, she finds Charlie. Charlie sees her and runs after her. While running back into the house, Annie encounters Mike's body hanging in a closet. When she eventually escapes and tries to make a call, Charlie appears and grabs the phone from her. A struggle ensues, during which Charlie knocks her unconscious, carries her to a room upstairs, and begins assaulting her. Meanwhile, while Scott is driving home, Charlie's daughter calls him back. She tells him that her father is a liar and a murderer, explaining that he killed her mother when she threatened to divorce him and take ownership of the house. Scott returns home while Charlie is attempting to rape Annie. When Charlie hears Scott's voice, he ties up Annie and goes to confront him. They engage in a fierce fight, during which Charlie throws Scott over the hallway balcony. Annie manages to free herself and locks the room door. Charlie breaks into the room and tries to strangle her, but Scott, having regained consciousness, pushes Charlie away. As Charlie and Scott engage in another fight, Annie picks up a knife and stabs Charlie from behind. Staggering away, Charlie retreats to the cellar, grabs a shotgun, and returns in search of the couple. Scott and Annie hide behind the room's door. When Charlie enters, Scott hits him on the head with a baseball bat, takes the gun from him, and shoots him. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It means a lot to us and helps the channel grow. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you in our next video.